class. Today we're actually going to learn how to use our calculator. We're going to find out how to graph quadratic functions in our calculator, to find the vertex or the max or the min, whichever you'd like to call it, on your calculator, and to find x or y intercepts, all things that we've been doing in the past few lessons. I have given you guys a handout. This actually has all the procedures how to do this. I'm going to reference this handout, but I'm also in this video going to show you exactly how to do it. We're going to start off by just learning how to graph it. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to graph the quadratic 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. So let's begin by just turning our calculator on. You do that by going to the bottom left corner. There is an on button. Push that on button. You should be to a screen, a blank screen with a flashing rectangle. If it's not and there's some math stuff in there, just push clear and it'll clear it up. So what we want to do from here is take our y equals button, and it's going to bring us to a screen that has y sub 1 equals, y sub 2 equals, y sub 3 equals, and so on. We're only going to use one of those. So what we want to do is we're going to plug in our quadratic. We're going to do 3, and our x button is right up here towards the top left, and I actually put this button on your handout. It has an x, a t, a theta, and an n. This is your x button, so go ahead and push that for your x. For our squared, we have two options. Over here to the left, there is an x squared button. We could just push that, but let's say you didn't want to use that, or you had to use a cube or a fourth. We could push this caret. This takes something to an exponent, and then push our 2 for our squared. Okay, and then we put minus 4, our x, the x button again, and then minus 2. Make sure it's all good. 3x squared minus 4x minus 2, and then you're going to push this right button over here that says graph. This is going to take you directly to the graph. Okay, and it's going to load, and it's all there, and this is our graph of our parabola. So to do this, you would just sketch it over onto, on your hand. I gave you guys a handout, so you would graph it on there, or you could just graph it on paper, however you'd like to do it. Let's say you graphed it and you really couldn't see the parabola and you want to zoom out or zoom in on your screen. There's a button up here in the middle that is a zoom menu. If you push it, it's going to take you to the zoom menu, and let's say we wanted to zoom in, zoom out. Let's zoom out. We could take that and go down there and you push enter, and it's going to take you to a screen. It's asking for your center. It didn't say that, but it just wants to know where does it need to zoom in at. Right now it's at the origin at 0, 0. I could move that to the left and it would go left, but I'm going to do 0. You can move it up or down to the right. So you just push enter again, and that's going to zoom you out. And we can barely see it now, so we wouldn't want that. So to zoom back in, you'd push zoom and go to zoom in, push enter. Okay, it's asking for where does it want to zoom in at, and it's at 0, 0 right now. So I'm going to push enter because that's where I'd like to go back, and it takes you back to the graph. One thing I do want to point out, if you look over here to the handout, you have to be very careful on how you type things in. Let's go back to our screen. If we wanted to do x plus 6 divided by 2, we could not do x plus 6 divided by 2. That is not right. That is x plus 6 divided by 2, so it'd be x plus 3. That's not right. So we want to go back, and what you're going to do is put whatever you're dividing by, or dividing, x plus 6, all in parentheses, and then divide by 2. That's just something to look out for because it will change your graphs if you have anything like that. Okay, so now that we've learned to graph it, I'll go back to the graph. You'd sketch that, and I want you to try one on your own. On your handout, you will have this function, f of x equals 7.5x squared plus 0.25x minus 0.5. Use the same steps, and you can resort back to this video and rewind it, or you can use your handout that you have. So give that a shot. Alright, well, the answer to, or the graph of the parabola that I had you graph, how you go about it is you plug it into your y equals menu and push graph, and this is what you should have gotten. Something like that, and we really can't tell what it is, so we probably want to zoom in. So you go to zoom here, go down to zoom in and push enter, and it's going to ask for your center. I'm just going to do 0, 0, and it looks like this. Alright, if you got that, great job. If not, that's okay. Keep practicing. What we're going to do next is we're going to find our max and min values. Now class, we're going to find our max or min value or locate the vertex on the quadratic. Those two things are the same thing. We're going to use our calculator to do that. So to show you how to do it, I am going to use the same function that we used earlier. As you notice on the handout, the first step says go through steps to graph as function as seen above. So we're going to do that again. So the first thing we want to do is get to this blank screen with the flashing rectangle and push y equals. We're going to plug in our function, 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. So we're all good up there. And then we're going to push graph. And it's going to take us to the graph. And that's as far as we went last time. Now we're going to actually find our vertex. Or in this case, since it is a low value when we look at our y-axis, this is a minimum. So what we're going to do is you push second and this calc here. And if you forget this, this is on the handout over here. Second, calc, and it's going to bring you to this calculate menu. Now, if you look down the options, we actually have options for minimum and maximum. So we're going to go down to, we had a minimum, so we're going to push go down to minimum and push enter. First screen is going to take you back to your graph, and it's going to say left bound with a question mark. It's asking for the left side of the vertex, and if you notice there's a flashing X on the screen, we're going to take this and we're going to go to the left side of that vertex. So that bottom, the valley there, we're going to go on the left side of it, and we're just going to push enter. Then it's going to ask for right bound, so you take your flashing X to the right side of it, right side of the vertex, and push enter. It's going to bring this this option here that just says guess, and we're just going to push enter here. And this is going to take us straight to the minimum value. So they give us an X and a Y of our vertex, or minimum value. Our X is going to be 0.6 repeating, so that's 2/3. But what we're looking for is our Y value. So it's going to be Y equals our negative 3.3 repeating. Or that's negative 3 1/3. You could do your repeating on your paper there. You could just put a 3 and then put the bar over it for repeating. And that would be it for finding your minimum. So there's little less steps there. You just have to make sure your buttons are right. So now I'm wanting you to try them on your own. I have 2 examples of this one. Since this one is very important, you'll probably be doing this one quite often. Find the max or the minimum values of each function. That's the same thing as finding the vertex. So go ahead and give those a shot on your own. If you need extra help, refer back to the video or use your handout. So the last 2 problems I gave you to do on your own, I'm just going to show you the answers in the graph. If you didn't get it, that's okay. Watch the video again, go through the steps on there, look at the handout, make sure you read that and see if you understand it. If you still can't get it after that, it's okay to come up and ask me, of course, at any time. So I'll show you the answers to that. Here on the first graph, we get some weird numbers here. We definitely wouldn't be able to do this by factoring or anything. So plugging it in, we get a parabola that opens down, so we have a maximum. Since our top value on the y, or the value it stops is on the y, and it's the top one. So we have a maximum at y equals this long decimal right here. You can go ahead and round. Please round out like 3 or 4 decimal places, just so you can see some out. Don't round to the 10th. So on this next one, actually, it turns out the answer comes out a little cleaner. We get a parabola, and you have to zoom out quite a bit on this one. You can still barely see it, but we know that it's parabola that opens up, and so that means we have a minimum, and it is at y equals negative 42.64. That's what the calculator actually gave us. So if you didn't get those, that's okay. Try again. Go back and watch the videos. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to find our x and y intercepts on our quadratic. So we're going to resort back to the example that we've been using for the previous 2 things. So the handout says go through the steps to graph a function as seen above. So we're going to do that again. So go up to y equals. It's going to take you to your y1, y2, y3. We're going to use our y1 again. So I'm using our 3x squared, this function over here, minus 4x minus 2. So that's all good. 3x squared minus 4x minus 2. We're going to push graph, and it's going to take us back to the graph. So So what we want to do is we're wanting to find, let's do our x-intercepts first. So it crosses the x-axis. The first thing you need to determine is, does it cross the x-axis or does it even hit it? It can hit it and still have one. But sometimes you'll get a parabola like up here and it'll go and it'll come back down and not even come down to the x-axis. So in this case, it does. So what we want to do is push second calc, just like our max and min, and we're going to go down to zeros. As you recall, we've talked about this plenty, that our x-intercepts are the same thing as zeros, same thing as roots. They're just called different things at different times. So in this case, we're going to call them zeros. So go down to 0 and push enter. So we're going back to a left bound and a right bound. We're actually going to have to do this twice. So go pick one of your x-intercepts. We know it crosses right here. Put left of it, push enter, and it's going to go right again, right bound. Go right of it, push enter, and then it's going to come to our guess menu. So go and push enter again. And it's going to bring up that zeros, so that whole point. So for one of our x-intercepts, we're going to enter that exact point. So we'll do parentheses, comma, or not comma, sorry, negative 0.38742599. I'm just going to put them all in. You guys can round. And 0. And then close your parentheses. So that's 1 point. So we got to find our other one. So we go back to just push graph. And it's going to take you back. Push second calca again, and then we go down to our 0 option and push enter. We got to find our other 0. So you're going to scroll over to that one and make sure you're on the left side of it. Looks like I'm kind of on it, so I'm going to go over left and push enter. Then push right and go to the other side. Push enter. And it's going to say guess with a question mark. Push enter again, and that gives us our other point. So it's going to be that, and parentheses 1.7207592. Again, you guys should round, don't write all that out, comma, and close your parentheses. Okay, and we're going to, you want to put those on the same line, like this. So those are our 2 points. Okay, so that's our x-intercept. So let's do our y-intercept. We're going to go back to the graph. So push graph to go back. And we're going to go through the same menu. Our y-intercept is, if you look at your up and down axis, your y-axis, it's where it crosses. We're going to go to second calc. But this time we're not going to look for a y-intercept or anything like that. We're going to go to value. Now recall, if we're on the y-axis, for our y-intercept, our x value is right here in the middle. It's at a 0. It's not on the positive side. It's not on the negative side. So it's at 0. So we want our x to be 0. So take that. Put 0 in, and then push enter. This is going to bring up that exact point. One good point, it says it on the handout, is that for your y-intercept, you only have one. It never crosses twice because it would not be a function, and we've talked about that earlier this year. So our y-intercept is going to be the point 0, comma, -2. Comma out and close your parentheses, and it's that point. And that's your y-intercept. We don't have 2 in this case. Alright, well there we found our x-intercepts, or our roots, or our zeros, and the calculator says zeros, and we found our y-intercept. Okay, so like we did earlier, I have one problem for you guys to do to find both of those. It's on the handout. So go ahead and try those on your own. Now let's discuss the answers to the problem I gave you to work on your own. So this function, f of x equals 5.44x squared minus 5x plus 6.7654, we were wanting to find the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. So when you graph this function, you should have seen right away that on your x-axis, it does not cross at all. It does not go through the x-axis at all, so there are no x-intercepts, so I would like you just to put none or no intercepts. So that was the easy one. Special case, so I'm glad we talked about it. And then the other parabola, for the y-intercepts, the same function, this is where you do your value at x equals 0. We get a 0, 6.7654. Alright, well if you didn't get it, that's okay. Keep practicing. This isn't something you get right away. You kind of have to master the keystrokes. Okay, the only thing I have left is I have a homework assignment for you to do, and I'm going to go ahead. You guys should have it already on a handout, but if not, you'll have it on here so you can pause the video and write them all down if you need to. Thank you for watching this. Let me know what you guys thought, and good luck on your calculator stuff.